I love England-Wales week. One of the biggest rivalries in the sport, always a huge weekend of the Six Nations, and this year, like every other year, packed with interest, with intrigue. Where both of these teams are is fascinating. The game we will see on the weekend, hopefully, will be really interesting as well. So welcome back to the channel. We have the teams for England and for Wales now ahead of that game at Twickenham on Saturday that I'm going to be at. So let me know in the comments, what do you make of the two team selections? And how do you see this game going? Where do you think both of these teams are after the opening weekend of the Six Nations? My name's Alfie. If you can like the video, if you can make sure you're subscribed to the channel, then that stuff's all massively, massively appreciated. But let's get straight into it. And I'm going to start off, normally I'd start with the home team. I'm going to start off with the away team today because Warren Gatland named his team early yesterday, which we've seen him done before. We've seen him do it with the Lions a lot. He's done it with Wales previously as well. I love it when that happens. I do wonder whether it is a case, we know that Gatland loves to control the narrative. And if there was a suggestion that it was going to be leaked, I just wonder whether he was like, let's just get it out there, let's control this, and let's put our team out on paper. So the headlines from that, which you would have all seen by now, 7 changes. You've got Thomas Williams and Ioan Lloyd lining up as the halfbacks. George North comes into the centres, a whole new front row, and Alex Mann comes into the back row after quite an impressive, I thought, cameo appearance off the bench, or not cameo appearance, an appearance off the bench against Scotland last weekend. So 7 changes in total, a lot of rotation from Wales, some of it enforced. Sam Costello is injured, so he's not a part of the team. But the big thing that I wondered yesterday when I first saw this team news, 7 changes, to what extent is this Warren Gatland acknowledging that he got it wrong? Because we saw the personnel in the second half play so much better, implement a much better game plan, playing on the front foot, trying to move Scotland around. So has Warren Gatland acknowledged that and has realised that's what he needs this weekend against England at Twickenham? Is that what's going on here? You guys can let me know. But I don't know, because I would expect to see Wales have a mix of styles. Like, you know how we've all spoken about it, right? After last weekend, the first half, they were absolutely dreadful. Putting it back to Costello in the pocket, he was bombing kicks long, or Gareth Davies was putting up box kicks. There'd been no chase. Scotland were able to collect it and dictate the game. That can't have been the game plan. Whatever they were trying to do was executed really poorly. And then in the second half, when they had nothing to lose, they could spread it wide, they could inject pace into it. But the problem is, I think if Wales approach it against England in that way, like if they just throw caution to the wind and they're just trying to run it from everywhere, I could be wrong here, and I could be made to look a fool if they do that on the weekend and are successful. I think they have to be smarter than that, which is why I expect to see a mix of styles from this Wales team against England. I think we will see them try to stretch England's defence because, as Italy proved, they are susceptible. It is a new defensive system that England are trying to implement. So there are opportunities, I think, for attacking sides. So I think Wales will know that. They will try and exploit it. But I don't think it's going to be a case of run it from everywhere. Almost in the way we saw against Scotland. A lot was going their way. A lot of great stuff from them. But I just feel like this weekend they will have to have more of a mix to their game plan than people maybe expect. And I know we did see it in that Scotland game because the driving maul was phenomenal towards the end of the game. But their set piece needs to be good. They need to have some sort of balance in their attack, in my opinion, anyway. The other thing to say as well is, and I heard Sam Warburton speaking about this week, this idea of the way in which Warren Gatland sides tend to play. And there has always been a traditional style, physical, quite direct, abrasive, keep it as an absolute arm wrestle and eventually get yourselves over the line, back your fitness towards the end of the game. Whilst that has been a certain style, they do also have the ability to go for it. If it's on, they're allowed to play. It's not so strict that they just have to kick the leather off it the whole time. So I don't know whether it was selection he got wrong. I don't know whether it was the game plan just not being executed. Most likely, let's be honest, it was probably a combination of all of those factors. I think we will see a smarter approach from Wales this weekend. That's what I would imagine. And as I've said already, I think that is the style of game that they would be best suited to in terms of getting a result against England. And whilst England are the favourites, I absolutely believe it's possible that Wales could go there and could get a win. Somewhere actually they haven't had a huge amount of success. over the years. They have had some really notable wins there. The 2015 World Cup pool game, which still broke my heart, maybe the most notable. They have had wins there, but not as many as they would like. So Wales are fascinating, a number of changes. Ioan Lloyd coming in at 10 as well is just so interesting, because I saw a lot of him when he played for Bristol, and he broke through straight out of Clifton College, straight out of school, and he was a fly half, and then he quickly started getting moved around that back line. He was on the wing, he was at fullback. We even, I think, saw him in the centre at time. You felt like he never quite established himself or exactly where his best position was within that Bristol side. He's gone to the Scarlets, he's been the backup 10 there. But he is electric. He has something special about him. And with Costello out, I wonder actually whether Wales would have liked to have had Costello a full run at the fly-half jersey throughout the Six Nations, ideally, just to give him an opportunity to bed in and get more used to international level. Injury means he's not available, so Ioan Lloyd is the man that gets the chance at Twickenham against England. What a stage to potentially do it on. And he has the sort of game plan that when we talk about that England defence and there being holes or trying to get at them, he has the sort of game style that could cause them a lot of problems. So we will wait and see. Let's get on to the English perspective. And Steve Borthwick's team are unchanged. First time since 2019. I know this stat will be flying around anywhere you read about this selection. 2019 World Cup final, from the semi-final to the final, was the last time England were unchanged. I suppose a lot of that, there's going to be injuries in there, there's various other different factors, but even so, I still think the fact that it hasn't happened over the last 4 years really gives you a pretty good example, I think, of the turbulent nature of where this England team have been. But England are unchanged, and the big thing for me is why. Steve Borthwick is a methodical, detail-oriented head coach. Why does he think that for this game and this challenge, his England side are best placed being unchanged? And for me, it's quite obvious. It is the continuity in a team that are trying to play differently in attack and are trying, as I've said already, to implement different defensive systems. When you're trying to do that, if you can keep the same squad out on the pitch, it's the same 23 that he announced last week as well. I know Genge pulled out closer to the game with injury. He's now back in. So it's same 23, and I think it makes a huge amount of sense in terms of where this England team are and where they are in their process. Give them an opportunity to continue to develop in those different systems. And I know there will be people out there that say, get rid of Elliot Daly and put Emmanuel Faye-Waboso on in his place. Other tweaks here and there in the back line. I've seen people say, get rid of George Ford and bring Finn Smith in, or whatever it is. I actually think when you look at this team, it has the experience of youth, 5 debutants in the 23 last week, and experience, the likes of George Ford, the likes of Elliot Daly, the likes of a number of other players, Maro Itoje, or whoever it is in that team. It does still have that nice balance. So I think it makes sense for where England currently are. The biggest challenge and the biggest test of England this weekend is, okay, in week one, you've showed us what you're trying to do differently in attack. You've shown us what you're trying to do differently in defence. We need to see it kick on another gear. And we're not expecting them from 1 week to the next go to being the best attacking team in the world or have the most stifling, oppressive defence in the world, but you need to see it continue to improve. And I think that is something that is going to be really interesting this weekend. Have England look like they've kicked on another notch? I'm obviously hoping so from my English perspective, but we shall wait and see. A few other factors just to mention. One thing is the Twickenham stuff. Seen a lot written and spoken about that this week. Jamie George has been very vocal about wanting Twickenham to be a horrible place for opposing teams to come. Results-wise, England have obviously not been good enough there over the last few years. But I think what's the atmosphere like? Can England get themselves on the front foot early to get this Twickenham crowd involved into the game? Because over all the years, it's always been said about Twickenham, it is very corporate. I mean, it's literally what funds the game in this country. So the RFU sell as many extortionately priced corporate tickets as they possibly can. From an economic point of view, I understand why. But the thing has always been, it's been a bit flat, partly because of that. But when the team or the fans have a team they can really get behind, it can be an incredible atmosphere as well. So I'm hoping that we see that, given the last time England were there was nowhere near a sellout for that game against Fiji prior to the World Cup when England ended up losing. So I think I'll leave it there. I'll try and do maybe a wider preview of the whole weekend on the channel tomorrow. This is looking ahead to England against Wales. And let me know what you make of these two teams. Do you think it makes sense? Is Gatland an omission of getting his selection wrong last week, or do you think it's maybe a little bit more nuanced than that? And what about England? Why unchanged for England? And do you agree that it's the correct thing for them for where the team is at this moment in time? I'm going to be at Twickenham on Saturday. Cannot wait for it. It's a brilliant fixture. I love going to the Six Nations games. It's such a privilege. So I'll be doing a video afterwards. Probably a little while after kickoff, because I'll probably have to head off and try and head to the press conference and things, but I will endeavour to get a video up for you after the game. Yeah, let me know who's going to win. Who do you think? Famous Wales victory at Twickenham against the odds off the back of that comeback. I suppose that's the thing with Wales, isn't it? Is we've seen the utterly awful and the utterly brilliant. And you think this team probably is somewhere in between those two things. So what do we see this weekend? And I think for Wales, starting well is so important, because they don't want to give this England team a chance to get on top of them and to get this crowd whipped up and into the game, because that's going to be a very different prospect compared with what it was at home in Cardiff with the roof closed, trying to come back into the game. Cannot wait for it. Comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.